The college basketball experience Mid-Atlantic Conference, a.k.a. MACtion, 2024-25 Conference Preview Edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with that promo code TCESGPN to score up to $1,000 bonus in cash. That is the Underdog Fantasy promo code TCESGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That is the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM today. Welcome, everybody, into the college basketball experience. MACtion? We're talking MACtion, baby? Oh, boy, you know I love the MAC. I am Moneyline MAC, so you know I love the MAC. I love MAC football. I love MAC basketball. It's a regional conference. We got a really good culture league here. We got good coaches. We've had NCAA tournament success. They've won games. I've had some of the coaches on my tour so far this offseason. I can't wait to talk about MACtion. I teased it, though. I am Moneyline Mac, a.k.a. the former video coordinator for Bob Huggins and Frank Martin. Also known as Mac Tonight, talking MACtion. And it's fitting that we're doing this show close to midnight because, come on, man. You can't do MACtion at a regular hour. And this guy lives in MACtion land, baby, because he's up there in Michigan. Whether I don't know which Michigan school exactly he's closest to in the MAC, but he is the window banging, drywall hanging, LeBaron driving, Noah Bieniek, aka Noah B77 _ What is up, man?
What's going on, Mac? Yeah, I'm super excited to talk some Mac. This league's right in my backyard. I've actually been slacking a little bit. I need to apply for media days. I believe it's Zoom, and then they stream it on ESPN Plus. I've been slacking on that part, but I'm super excited diving through. I think this was a very fun league last year. Bunch of random outcomes, I think.
Yeah.
And random might be not the perfect term for that. I mean, what I'm talking about is we had Central Michigan finish 4th. We had Bowling Green with Todd Simon in his first year finish in the top half of the conference. We had Western Michigan finish in the top half of the conference, which I can't remember when that last happened. Kent State finished 8th, which again, big surprise there.
That ain't happening again. Yep.
No, Mac, what you were talking about, you couldn't figure out where what action school I live closest to. It's actually a trick question. I live in the state of Michigan, but the one that I live closest to is actually Toledo. So
there you go.
I'm actually a bigger Rockets fan than I am Eastern, it's really close, actually. I think I live closest to Ypsilanti than I do Toledo. So I have to take that back. But I like Toledo better than Eastern. And Chips are probably my favorite directional school. However, when we're talking mid-major college basketball in the state of Michigan, I love Oakland. And Oakland's the closest D1 school to me. So give me the Golden Grizz. But that's where I am currently in the MACtion footprint, Mac.
Yes, and Kent State may have finished 8th. You know me, I love some Kent State. They still got to the title game, and they should have went to back-to-back NCAA tournaments. My man fouled.
Oh, my God.
Up one for whatever reason. Just heartbreak city. Akron and Kent State have a knack for always getting to the final, always delivering classic games. Obviously, they deliver classics in the regular season.
Yeah.
But there's just so many solid programs in this league. We've seen NCAA tournament wins, whether it was from Buffalo, whether it was from Ohio. I know John Groce was there. Now he's at Akron. We've seen Akron push UCLA. We've seen Kent State, I think, push Indiana a couple of years ago. Toledo's been knocking on the door of getting to the dance in this league. It's just it's an underrated basketball league. I know from a football standpoint, they have a national brand because they play on Tuesday and Wednesday in November, which every mid-major should do that, by the way, to get eyeballs on their product. And that's why we know Maction so well. But it's a hell of a basketball league, too. And they capitalize on that Friday night national TV window as good as anybody. That CBS Sports Network Friday night game.
Yeah, Mac and Mountain West right after.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think the Toledo fans would like to push back on some of the verbiage that you used. Akron and Kent State having a knack to get to the big dance. Toledo's kind of choked it away. They've won this league 4 years in a row. Let's put some respect on these Rockets.
I know, but they can't finish a job in Cleveland. That's what I'm saying. Like I said, Toledo's been knocking on the door. They win the regular season every year, but they can't get over the hump. That's
a little bit of the issue, though, is like Cleveland, like Akron and Kent State are the two biggest fan bases, two of the biggest in the MAC, and they're the two closest to Cleveland. Let's put this thing in Detroit or Indy for 1 year. Like, let's let all these fan bases have a solid go during the midweek when you have work, because the MAC, we're grinders, we're true blue collar. Like we can't leave work for an entire week to go to the basketball tournament. So yeah, this is going to be a fun preview. We're going to talk about all these teams. We're continuing the order that we've done a lot of these previews in reverse finish of KenPom power rankings. We did the Mountain West the other day during this week with Colby, just because we only have Colby for a select few days this preseason with he's moving across the country. So we encourage you to go check out the Mountain West preview as well, because we did mention that. I went back and listened to last year's MAC preview where Colby was on the show. You two both picked Ohio to win the regular season. I picked Akron. Akron and Ohio tied for second. And
1 game out. Yep.
Toledo, which has been my team for quite a bit here, I was as low as could be. I think I ranked them third. They were super young. They started like 2 freshmen. They lost like 3 14-point scorers per game. Like that team 2 years ago was super, super good. And not winning with that squad, Kowalczyk pondered retirement. And I was like, you know what? I don't know if he's going to be able to do it in the regular season, but you and I both made the bold prediction that, you know what? He's going to get it done in the tournament. And that didn't happen. Colby took Akron in the tournament. So shout out to Colby for taking the Zips to win it. They did. For some reason, we didn't do a sleeper in this conference.
We're all sleepers.
Weird. Like, for some of these conferences, we just, I don't know, claimed that it was too tough last year and we just didn't label sleepers. But for busts, you hit a home run with Northern Illinois. They finished 11th in conference. Colby picked Miami, Ohio, who finished 6th. I don't think I can give the RedHawks to him there. I wouldn't call that a bust season. And I picked Ball State, who finished 10th. So 9th, sorry. So I think they finished in the bottom 4. I get credit there, but I think you were the big winner with the Huskies, completely collapsing after they returned a lot of the roster from 2 seasons ago going into last year. But that's enough talk on last year. Let's get ready to get into this year, but we're going to pause for 15 seconds for station identification, because Get to the Points, a brand new podcast on SGPN featuring professional comedians Doug Stanhope, Brendan Walsh, and Sean Green are, talking shit and giving out their favorite plays for each week of NFL action. Stanhope and Walsh have been featured on the Joe Rogan podcast, Howard Stern show, and Comedy Central. So this is a great show. We would encourage you guys to go over there, check it out, see if it's your cup of tea, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts or wherever you stream the video, here on YouTube or also on podcasts. So yeah, check it out. And we are back here on the College Basketball Experience, talking MAC basketball, previewing the upcoming year, 2024-25. First team alphabetically that we're talking about today is the Akron Zips. Under John Groce, they've been super consistent each and every single season. Last year, they finished tied for second in this league, 24-11 overall, 13-5 in conference. And like we talked about just 2 minutes ago, they did win the conference tournament. They lose from last season 4 starters. Ali, who averaged 15.5 points, 4 boards, almost 3 assists in 33 minutes. He's out. Enrique Freeman is also out. Big blows. Both of those two have played together for 3 of their 4 seasons at Kent State. Enrique Freeman, 6'7", forward, 32.5 minutes per game, 18.5 points, 13 boards per game. I mean, that's just a tremendous mid-major player, one of the best in the country. Sammy Hunter played 26 minutes, averaged 8.5 points. He's also out. Same with Greg Tribble, 29 minutes a game, 10.5 points. Caleb Thornton played 50.5 minutes. He's also out of eligibility. Michael Dawson transfers out after playing 21 minutes. He transfers to the Thundering Herd of Marshall. Darian Baker, he's transferred out, and Ryan Prather has transferred out as well. Returning for this squad is Nate Johnson, played 23.5 minutes, averaged 7.3 points, 3.3 boards, 1.5 assists, over 1 steal per game. But a lot of this roster has been, I would say, repaired pretty well by the transfer portal. They won the transfer portal. They lost due to graduation and eligibility. They lost a lot of their roster. But overall, if you're comparing transfer portal additions and subtractions, they won it. They get 2 guys from your neck of the woods, Mac, West Virginia. Seth Wilson played 17 minutes, averaged 3.5 points, shot at 38% from deep, though, for the Mountaineers. And then Josiah Harris, a 6'7" forward, 19 minutes a game, 5 points per game, 4 boards for the Mountaineers. James Okonkwo also rounds out the front court full of transfers here. He's a 6'8" senior from North Carolina, played 3 minutes a game last season. And then the point guard is Isaiah Gray, coming in from Cornell, who's been a really good Ivy League program the last couple of years. He's a senior, played 23 minutes a game last season, 9.5 points, almost 4 boards, 3.2 assists, 1.5 steals per game, shot at 60.2% from the field. And then Bowen Hardman rounds out the transfer portal class after playing 4 minutes for Ohio State, 4 minutes a game last year, shot at 43% from 3-point land. Mac, I'll get your thoughts before I round this thing out with mine. How do you feel about John Groce's transfer portal class? Basically, you got 2 of the guys that you should know pretty well.
3. Okonkwo from Carolina. He was at West Virginia to start. So him, Josiah, and Seth were all teammates 2 years ago. I was there when all 3 of them were there. So yes, I like their transfer class. Very familiar with it. But it wasn't even going to matter who Groce brought in. You got to trust the culture. They're going to be a top 4 team right there to win the regular season. But with the Okonkwo, Harris, and Wilson, and then the kid coming over from Cornell as well, it's a good, proven class that has high major experience. And they all played minutes last year with West Virginia's revolving door of minutes with how many eligibility injuries or suspensions they had. So, love Akron this year. I know they lose a lot, but Groce, also just looking at it, has finished in the top 4 every single year the last 6 years in the MAC. And then you go back to his Ohio days where he won NCAA tournament games in 2010, in 2012. He's kind of the Don of the MAC, man, with how long he's been there, how much success he's had. So love the Zips this year once again.
Yeah, I would label it a little bit of a rebuilding year, but you have to be impressed by this transfer class, and that's immediately going to stunt it pretty much right where they've been during Groce's tenure here. He's been great at molding balanced basketball teams in the MAC, as he's had a team that's ranked inside the MAC's top 5 in both offensive and defensive efficiency in each of the last 5 years. We move along to the Ball State Cardinals next up in alphabetical order for us here today. Last year, they finished 15-16 overall, 7-11 in conference, good for 9th out of 12 teams. They lose 3 starters from last year's team as well. Jalen Anderson, 15.8 points per game in 36 minutes a game. He averaged 4.5 boards, 4.5 assists, 1.5 steals. Bashir Jihad averaged 18.5 points and 8 boards in 32 minutes. He's also transferred out. Davion Bailey transferred out after playing 33 minutes, 12.5 points, 3.5 boards. Trent Middleton, 18.6 minutes a game, transferred out. Also alongside Jack Fuda, Micah Bell, Quincy Adams, and Joey Brown. They all transferred out. Coming in, I thought this was an all right transfer portal class as well. You have Jeremiah Hernandez, who is the leading scorer for the Southern Indiana Screaming Eagles, played 31.5 minutes for them last year, 17 points per game, 1.8 assists per game. You get Peyton Smarks coming in from Indiana, 7.5 minutes for the Hoosiers a season ago. He's a senior this season. You also get Jermari Hill coming in from South Plains Junior College, 14.3 points per game, 4.5 rebounds per game, over 3 assists per game. Coming in from Portland was Juanse Gorcito, 28.5 minutes, 8.5 points, 2 boards, 2.5 assists, shot at 35% from 3. And then coming in from Kentucky is a 6'5" redshirt freshman, Joey Hart. I remember when Kentucky, I would just say this. Most of the the departures from Kentucky have done really dang well, because usually they're pretty high recruits, and they're either told that, hey, we're going to need you to redshirt this first year, or they only play like 10 minutes in their freshman year, and they're unhappy with Calipari not letting them have some playing time, and then they jump. And you look at a guy like Bryce Hopkins, he was pretty damn good after leaving. That's just recent memory for me, but most of the departures from Lexington pan out pretty well. And all of those transfers are going to go alongside 2 returners from the starting 5 last season, Mason Jones and Mickey Pearson Jr. Pearson Jr. averaged 12 points and 5 boards, shot at 36% from deep. Mac, how are you feeling about the Cardinals this year?
Yeah, so Mike Lewis, they overachieved year 1. They finished 4th, went 11-7 in league play. Took a little bit of a step back. I think we expected that last year with how they overachieved. But I do like their portal class coming in. You mentioned the kid from Indiana, Southern Indiana as well. I think that they're going to be middle of the pack. I think Mike Lewis is a really good coach. Mick Cronin guy, so they're going to be solid, discipline. Probably pride themselves on the defensive side of the floor. A couple of years ago, just looking at them, they actually were better offensively. So they took a step back on the offensive side. I think that they get back and meet somewhere in the middle between the 2 years. So I got them as like a 500 team in the MAC. And year number 3 of Mike Lewis.
Yeah, it's about what I had. This program usually hovers right around 500 in conference, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do it again. Last year, the Cardinals shot 79.1% from the charity stripe in conference play. If they can keep cashing in on the easy ones, they can take a step up from 9th in this conference, in my opinion. Before we get to the rest of the MAC, let's talk about Underdog Fantasy. Pick them. They've always been adding new things to their menu. They continue to do that. They now have first touchdown projections, and there's a ton of sports that you can win over there on NFL, college football, MLB, MMA, college basketball when the season comes around. The lobby is always jam-packed with profit boosts and no sweat entries. You can now use specials and boosts on all flexed entries. Sign up today with our promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. And we're back here on the college basketball experience. Going in alphabetical order, previewing a bunch of not a bunch, all of the MAC basketball teams from a season ago. My Wi-Fi is telling me that I'm struggling here on one bar. My sister is home from college this weekend, and it's been rough for me trying to just get the stream going. That's why we're going at 11:55 at night Eastern time, so we can have as little devices online in the Bieniek household as possible. But we're talking about the Bowling Green Falcons basketball team for the upcoming year. Last year, it was very, very positive, and they finished 20-14, 10-8 in conference, which was 5th under Todd Simon in his first year. They do lose quite a bit here. We're going with Marcus Hill, who had 20.5 points per game, 5 boards, 2.5 assists, 1 steal per game in 36 minutes a season ago. Jason Spurgeon averaged 10 points, 5 boards, 1.5 assists in 30 minutes. Rashawn Agee, who put up 13 and 10 in 27.5 minutes. Deshaun Phillip is out of eligibility after playing 24 minutes a season ago. DJ Smith, 14.5 minutes. He's also transferred out. PJ Edwards, 15 minutes a game last season. He transferred out along with Joey Zaher, EJ Greer, and that's Isaac El Sasser. They've all departed from the program. Incoming, Marcus Johnson from D2 Wheeling up in formerly your neck of the woods, Wheeling, West Virginia. He's a 265-pound, 6'7" forward, 33 minutes a game a season ago, 21.5 points, 8 boards. He can also stretch it out and shoot a 3 too, 44.7% from deep. And then a little less notably all around, Will Gwens Jr. From Utah. He played 12 minutes a game for the Utes last year. Derek Butler from Central Michigan played 28 minutes a season ago, 10.5 points, 4 boards in the MAC last year, shot at 41.5% from 3. And Braylon Green coming in from Arizona State, a 44.4% three-point shooter. Last but not least, Yusuf Kayat from Michigan. He barely saw the floor for us, but this was a Euro recruit that we were kind of excited for in Wolverineville, but he never saw the floor with Juwan Howard. So they also return Trey Thomas is the big name. 33.5 minutes last season, 11.5 points, 2.5 assists. Mac, how we thinking or how we feeling about Bowling Green for the upcoming year?
The more and more I look, Todd Simon's one of the more underrated coaches in the country. 4 straight 20-win seasons dating back to his last 3 years with the Thunderbirds. They go 20-14, 10-8 in his first year. They started 5-1, and I knew that they were going to come back a little bit once they started playing some of the better teams in the MAC. So they struggle down the stretch. I think they take a little bit maybe of a step back just with how much they lose, a lot of uncertainty. But I imagine that Todd Simon will have them competitive again in the MAC. So I got them middle of the pack.
Bowling Green enters the preseason with the second most experience on their roster, according to Torvik in the MAC. Todd Simon's done a great job keeping his teams, whether it be Southern Utah or BGSU, above the Mendoza line lately. 4 straight winning records in conference play and 6 campaigns at 500 or above with consistently good offenses. They're going to have to replace their top 3 scorers from a season ago, but you kind of have to ride with Simon to have the Falcons competing in the top half of the MAC.
Agree.
Next up is Buffalo. They've been pretty far away from the top half of the MAC in recent seasons. Last year, 4-27 overall, 2-16 in conference, finished 12th, aka last in the MAC under George Halkovich. Look, I don't think any losses are big hits from a last place finishing squad. Some of that could be attributed to addition by subtraction, but you do lose an 18-point scorer in Cy Chapman, 6.5 boards in 32 minutes a game last season, 33 minutes a game from Isaiah Adams, who averaged 13 points, 4 boards, 3.7 assists. Sean Fulcher, who played 25 minutes, averaged 8.5 points. Genevius Smith, who played 24 minutes, averaging 8 points. Also, James Graham III, 17.5 minutes. Sakir Williams, 12.5 minutes. Kanye Jones, 17 minutes. And Diovion Farnakinde have all transferred out of this program. Coming in, they only bring in 2 transfer portal additions. Tyson Dunn from Western Ontario, where he averaged 15.5 points, 6.5 assists, 2.5 steals. And Noah Batchelor from Maryland, a former top 200 recruit for the Terps. Didn't really play too much in his 3 years there. 7.7 minutes a game last season, shot at 32.5% from 3. Look, Mac, I'm not too high on Buffalo this year. They entered the season with the least amount of experience, according to Torvik in the MAC. The roster has 8 freshmen, 4 sophomores, only 1 senior, 1 junior. It's very, very hard to prognosticate how well they'll be this year, but the ceiling can't be high, in my opinion. So I'm going to have them near the cellar.
Yeah, and they were young last year, but they didn't retain a lot of their guys. I thought that they were going to kind of do the take it on the chin and grow together, but they weren't able to maintain. Man, these Villanova guys, and Halkovich comes from that Villanova tree with Jay Wright. They haven't been the best once they got away from Jay Wright. So I'm down on Buffalo. This is a proud program. I know they opened right down the road for me on opening night at ODU. I think that this is a basement MAC team again. I just there's not enough experience to look at it and compare to these other teams and say, hey, I think they're going to take a jump.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, sadly.
Yeah.
We're going to take one more short break before we round out the MAC team previews, because the college basketball experience is brought to you by BetUS. Best in the business. They've been around for more than 30 years. You can easily deposit using cryptocurrency and get lightning fast payouts when you want to cash out. Support SGPN and get yourself another book to access with great options over there at BetUS. Use our link to sign up today and get a 125% deposit bonus on your first 3 deposits. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS, promo code SGPN, so they know we sent you. BetUS, America's favorite sportsbook. And SGPN's proud partner, Rhythm, is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to create and build custom predictive betting models in seconds and get predictions for betting on money lines, spreads, totals, and props. Build your own model or copy one of the top-performing ones from the leaderboard, and Rhythm will give you predictions for every game and player prop, and also a myriad of stats, research, and trend analysis to give you even more betting insights. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. And we're home free here today on the college basketball experience, previewing the MAC for the upcoming season. We've talked about Akron, Ball State, Bowling Green, and Buffalo. We're about to finish the other 8 teams, beginning with the Central Michigan Chippewas. Let's go, baby. Fire up chips.
These damn Michigan schools. No, Bieniek's got no new level of pep in his step right now. Here we go.
Yeah, they were 18-14 last year, 12-6 in conference, 4th in the MAC. A very nice change to pace from recent seasons from the MAC directional schools. They lose almost everything from last year's team. They're going to have to replace 4 or 5 starters. Derek Butler, like we just talked about, transferred in conference, 10.5 points per game, 4 boards. Marcus Harding transferred out, 27.5 minutes, 10 points, 5 boards. Also, Paul McMillan IV, Max Marley, which was really interesting because he was like a big name of the program. Like that in itself might have been a little bit of a distraction at the time when they were playing Western. Sometimes the name was like bigger than the game itself. But interesting to see him go as only a redshirted sophomore. Aiden Rubio, after 25 minutes per game a season ago. Brian Taylor, 11.5 points per game and 35 minutes a game. He's out. Jamal Davis transferred out. KJ Odur transferred out. Josiah Sanders is gone. Bryce Eaton, see ya. And Noah Adamczyk. I actually went to school with this kid's cousin. So he's also transferred to Northeastern Junior College, which is in Colorado. They do return Anthony Pritchard. And look, he was their leading scorer from a season ago. He's going to be one of the best players in the conference for this upcoming season. He averaged 12.8 points per game, 5 boards, 4.7 assists, 1.7 steals. He was in the portal. He comes back. Big win for Tony Barbie and the bunch. But outside of him, there's some question marks kind of all over this roster. Jacoby Hetty comes in from Bethune-Cookman, 15.5 points per game, 4.5 boards. Shot at 47.9% from the field. Coming in from Cal State Northridge is Brian Jonga. He's a 6'9" sophomore, only played 11 minutes there. Can stretch it out and shoot the three, 30.5% from there last season. Armani Mighty, a 6'10" junior coming in from Boston College, barely played with the Eagles, looking to get some more playing time here with the Chips. Kyler Vanderyacht coming in from Belmont after playing 11 minutes a game last season for the Bruins. And then 6'10" Ugnius Yarosevich coming in from Cal State Bakersfield. Average 11.5 minutes, 5.5 points, 2.2 rebounds. Look, Mac, I think this is a young squad. In Tony Barbie's third season in Mount Pleasant, the Chips, they had the best defense in the MAC last season.
Yeah.
The one positive here for CMU's roster is this year they look long and versatile outside of Pritchard. I think there's potential for them to have one of the better defenses in the MAC this season, but I'm going to predict them to have a little bit of a step back this year.
I think you have to. And you look at it, 8 out of their 12 wins were by 2 possessions or less or in overtime. They won. Remember how many overtime games or double overtime games they won in chaotic fashion? They were like 8-2 coming down the stretch and finished 4th. Year 3 was a magical year for the Chips under Tony Barbie. But I would imagine that they take a little bit of a step back, closer to that 8th or 9th finish here that they finished his first 2 years, losing as much as they did. But it was good to see the Chips be feisty last year, finishing 18-14, 12-6 in the MAC.
Very good. Like I said, it was a nice change of pace from the MAC. Like we've typically, like the top 4 has been cement. You had Toledo, Akron, Ohio, Kent State, all of them. Those 4 top 4, but last year, like we talked about at the beginning of the show, it wasn't. And, it makes it a little bit more enjoyable. And there's some parity in the MAC, and there was plenty of it last year. Is really the bottom 3/4 of the league was about 500 or a little bit below. We're going to move on to another directional Michigan school, Eastern Michigan. They finished 10th last season, 13-18 overall, 6-12 in conference. Look, they took also a big blow. Tyson Acuff did transfer out. He averaged 21.7 points per game. He's moving on to Rutgers. And then Orlando Lovejoy transferred to Detroit Mercy. Averaged 9.8 points, 3 boards, 2.8 assists in 31 minutes a game last season. Julius Ellerby, 24.5 minutes, is also gone. Legend Jeter hit the portal as well. Awesome name. See you later. Connor Servin, 18 minutes a game, 18 minutes per game a season ago, transferred out. Kevin David Rice, 12.5 minutes, also portal, along with Andrew Wells, Cyril Martinov, Javante Randall, John McGriff, and Derek Pronger coming in from the transfer portal. They're excited about 2 DePaul gets. Jalen Terry, who shot at 45% from 3, top 35 in the country of qualified 3-point shooters. He's a senior this year, played 28 minutes a season ago for the Demons, averaged 8.5 points, 4 boards, 2.5 assists, 1 steal. And in the front court, 6'8 senior, also from DePaul, Deshaun Nelson, 21.5 minutes, 9.7 points, 3.5 rebounds, 2 assists, shot at 46.2% from the field. Trey Pettigrew comes in from Bradley Salt Lake Community College. He's also played, he comes in from Salt Lake Community College, played at Bradley, played at Nevada in his career as well. Kid's kind of been all over the place, but hasn't really started anywhere. This is probably the lowest level he's been. Probably going to get the most minutes he's ever seen. Also, he transfers in along with Julian Lewis from Miami, Ohio, who did miss last season with the RedHawks. And then John Chanu II from UT Rio Grande Valley. Comes in. Mac, look, for me, I'll lead the analysis portion. What'd you say?
I said Ypsilanti, baby.
Yeah, I'll lead the analysis portion of this one because I feel strongest that of the 3 directional schools in Michigan, Eastern Michigan should be the best.
I agree.
Last year they were the worst, and I don't see it getting better. Some may be predicting Eastern to take a step up this year after they bring in these 2 DePaul transfers, but I'm not going there. Stan Heath's Eagles have either finished last or second to last in offensive efficiency in all 3 seasons he's been in Ypsilanti. And that's very poor given the context of talent that he's actually had play for him at EMU. My Wi-Fi crash?
No, you're still talking. We hear you. Your face is just frozen. Keep talking.
Yeah, my entire computer screen's frozen. Okay, cool.
There you go.
All right. So you heard
yes.
You heard the entire rant?
Yeah, yeah.
So
you were clear as anything.
I'm not buying this shit. I mean, he literally had Amani Bates play for him. The offense was terrible. Last year he had a 21 point per game score, and Tyson Acuff, his brother Darius, is going to be a fucking superstar next season. They weren't good. Look, you are in Metro Detroit. You have millions of basketball players that you can go pick up from the black court, and black top. I was talking backcourt, black top, whatever.
What's that mean?
Black top. There's a million basketball players in downtown Detroit that are playing on the blacktop right now that could go play in the MAC, and they've sucked. And I'm not buying it until I see it with Stan Heath's team. Mac, I was interrupting you, but go ahead.
Yeah, did you know Stan Heath once upon a time went to the Elite 8 at Kent State 20 years ago?
I was looking back at his career and how he's done, and it's how he's even coached at some of the spots that he went and had like lengthy tenures.
Won a tournament game at South Florida in 2012, I think. But yeah, this will be his best team yet. I think. Yeah, Amani Bates, Noah Farrakhan, those guys are bigger names, but that shit never works. Those were ball dominant guys that had no interest in defending. I think that this is maybe like in terms of like guys buying into what he wants on the defensive end will be his best team. I'm not saying they're going to be a top half of the MAC team, but I do think that they'll take a little bit of a step forward, maybe in that 7-8 range. Year 4 though, he needs to start showing some strides, and yeah. Noah and his black courts, aka the streets of Detroit, baby.
Chat's absolutely loving that stumble. That was awesome. But Jalen Terry's not a ball dominant guard.
Not as much as Amani Bates and Noah Farrakhan. No way.
Farrakhan.
I can't believe you have both on the same team.
I'm willing to argue in favor of Farrakhan. Like with Amani Bates on the team, his ball dominance was not nearly as bad.
Well, that's because Amani Bates had the ball so much.
Yeah, Farrakhan.
There is only one ball. You know that, right?
Yeah, I thought Farrakhan was a dog and played well with Eastern. And then he goes over to West Virginia and doesn't even see the floor. That's for reasons that and we don't have to get into it.
They were 8-23 with him there. Like,
yeah, they sucked last year without him too. They sucked with Tyson Akoff.
They were 13-18 last year. They won 5 more games without those guys.
They should be way better. This team should be a top 6 MAC team each and every single season. Toledo recruits Detroit better than Eastern does.
Maybe I'll sneak them into the top 6 just because everybody's sleeping on the old Eagles. We don't have Colby soundboard, but yeah, Stan Heath, veteran coach, big year, need to take a step. Maybe he puts together what Tony Barbie did last year. They win a bunch of close games.
Kooky Cam, I would argue that he's buying into the TMZ bullshit here. He's saying that Eastern Michigan with 2 kids from DePaul last year is going to be better than they've been in the years past. I don't see it.
DePaul's under the radar, baby.
Yeah,
on the blue team.
Under the radar, they're drowning in the radar.
Are you ready? Ready to move on? How did we end up? There's a couple of really good programs in this MAC, and somehow we spent the most time on these damn Michigan schools.
Eastern is a problem.
You and Governor Whitmer again. There you go. You guys just want to keep talking about these programs in the MAC.
Who?
Governor, your governor.
Who?
That
Kent
sucks
State,
ass. Go ahead.
The Golden Flashes.
Here you go.
A rough year. A rough season last year. 8th in the MAC, 17-17 overall, 8-10 in conference. They lose 7 of their top 8 scores from, honestly, one of the worst seasons in recent program history. That could be a good thing, as it was the first time that the Golden Flashes didn't finish with a top 3 defense since COVID. They ranked 10th via KenPom in defensive efficiency, and that's just not up to par with other Rob Senderoff teams. So throw that group out the window. Jalen Solinger, 15.5-point score a season ago in 35 minutes. Biggest hit, Chris Payton put up 12.5 points. Giovanni Santiago, 9, 3, and 4. Time Freeman hit the portal along with Julius Rollins, L.A. Haynes, and Reggie Buss. Coming in from the portal, this is a team that I think won the transfer portal. They're getting a 4 assists per game guy, Chon Medley from St. Louis. He averaged 4 assists per game, shot at 35.7% from 3 in 22.7 minutes for the Billikens a season ago. And then Morgan Safford, a graduate senior, played 34.5 minutes for Miami, Ohio in 2022-23. He missed last season due to injury, but 2 seasons ago for the RedHawks, 15.5 points, 6 boards, 2.5 assists. Don't ask me how or why he hits the portal this season, but great get for Kent State here. And then also coming in from the portal, Anthony Morales, who put up 11 points per game, 4.3 boards, shot up 38.5% from deep for Boston last season. He's a grad senior. And Marquise Bennett is a senior from Presbyterian, 30.5 minutes, 14.5 points, 4.5 boards, 2.5 assists, 2 steals per game, shot at 50% from the floor. The one big returnee on the offensive side of the ball is Von Cameron Davis, a 6'5" forward, redshirt senior, 29 minutes a season ago, 13.8 points, 5 boards, 1.5 assists, 48.5% from the field. He was in the portal, but he does come back, and at least you have something coming back. Mac, this is mostly a team that is being supplemented by transfers, but they are a pretty experienced team. On the projected starting 5, 4 of them seniors or graduate seniors.
Yeah, and this is a buy-in on the culture. I mean, last time Senderoff had a losing season in the MAC, he rolled off 9 straight top 4 finishes. So throw out that outlier from last year. That ain't going to happen again. It's I think that they'll buy in. Sometimes you see this with the new group, man, is they had that really special team 2 years ago. They all a couple of them came back. They weren't as hungry. They get a new group in. They buy in defensively. We were talking about this with San Diego State last night. They buy in defensively. They buy into the coach. I think Kent State will be much better than what people anticipate. I got them easily in my top 4 again. They're old, like you said. They're old. Like they come from different programs.
Yeah, 100%. This is a team that I expect to leap back up into contention like they usually are every single season.
They're the oldest team in the league.
Are they? I didn't look that up.
According to Torvik.
Cool.
Them, Bowling Green, and Eastern Michigan.
It stood out on paper, 100%. They have a lot of seniors on this team. So Miami, Ohio is next up for us alphabetically. The RedHawks, 15-17 a season ago, 99 overall, or 99 in conference, 15-17 overall, tied for 6th in the MAC last season. They enter the year with the second least experience in the MAC, according to Torvik. The roster has 3 freshmen, 8 sophomores on it, along with 1 senior and 3 juniors. It's a little bit of a red flag for me, at least. Mac and I talked about this a little bit pre-show, as he did interview Travis Steele in the offseason on our coaches tour. So go check that out. Mm-hmm. They lose a couple of starters in Darweshi Hunter, put up 12 points per game, 4.3 boards and 1.5 assists in 30 minutes, along with Bryson Boltman in 27.5 minutes. He averaged 7.4 points, 4.8 boards, 2.5 assists. Julian Lewis, like I said, he missed last season, but was a pretty good player 2 seasons ago. Anderson Murumbaugh, 21 minutes, 12.7 points, 3.5 boards, 1.8 assists per game. He's also out the door, along with Bradley Dean, who transferred, Ryan Mabry, who transferred, Jaquel Morris, who's out, and Morgan Safford also transferred out of the program. Coming in, I think they won the transfer portal. Peter Suter from Bellarmine, he said, I'm done with all these staples and this must dribble after I catch the ball offense. He played 32 minutes a season ago for Bellarmine, 10.5 points, 3.3 assists, but a lot of the assist numbers are inflated with how they play. Antoine Woolfolk put up 49.3% field goal percentage a season ago in 12.5 minutes for Rutgers. Cam Kraft for Xavier, he didn't play last season due to injury. Half that Musketeers roster, it feels like, was injured, but Cam Kraft transfers in. I'm sure this is a guy that Travis Steele might have had his hands on in recruiting, maybe. And then Dan Lewis, from Eastern Illinois, after playing 23 minutes a season ago. Look, like I said, this team's young. The backcourt, 2 sophomores that played 24 minutes a season ago, Evan Ipsaro and Makai Cooper. And then another projected starter is Jan Elmer, who played 18.5 minutes, shot at 52.5% from the field and 40.5% from 3. Mac, you were a little bit higher on Miami, Ohio than I was, right?
Yeah, I like the portal class. I like how they progress in year 2 of Steele's era. Travis Steele, brother of John Groce at Akron. You know, Miami, Ohio is the all-time winningest program in this league. I did not know that until Coach Steele told me that. So that's an interesting nugget. I think they're on their way back. They haven't had a winning season in over a decade, which is crazy considering what I just said about them being the all-time winningest program. But I like the transfers they bring in. I think that they are. I don't think that they're going to crack the top 4 yet, but I think they're headed that way under Steele. Steele, obviously, it did not work out at Xavier, but he wasn't completely horrible like people made it out to be at Xavier. He had a winning record 4 straight years. He just would always find himself on the wrong side of the bubble there. And then they improved from year 1 to year 2 drastically, and I think they'll take another step here. So I got them upper tier of the middle class here in the MACtion.
Alrighty. I think this is a good shooting team. I'll give them that. They've got a lot of guys that can shoot it from 3-point land. Also, Reese Potter, 7'1", 7'1" center that shot at 45.5% from 3, 15 for 33 last season. Just a lot of these guys pretty efficient. And the offense could be humming this year. That's the one positive I've got on this really young roster. Next up for us alphabetically is the Northern Illinois Huskies, a team that I got burned last year. I was a little bit higher than some on a lot of the returnees that they had, but they lost them all because they were a really old roster. They pulled off some upsets in the non-con, and I bought into them even more. And they fell flat on their face. 5-13 in conference, 11-20 overall. They finished 11th, aka second to last. They lose their top 7 scorers and return the least minutes from the MAC from last season. The biggest one, I think, was David Coit, because he was expected to have a chance to return to this roster for this season, but he was a late transfer to Kansas. 37 minutes a season ago, 21 points per game, 3.2 boards, 3.4 assists. Zarik Nutter averaged 15.5 points, 5.7 boards, 2 assists. He's also gone, along with Xavier Amos, who averaged 14 points, 5.8 boards in 31 minutes. Philmon Gebrhuit, who also transferred in from DePaul, didn't play too well with Northern Illinois. Hint, hint, for that Eastern Michigan conversation that we had. Gebrhuit was pretty good at DePaul. Played 24.5 minutes last season for the Huskies, averaged 8 points per game. Harvin Ibargwin transferred out along with Will Lovings-Watts, Zion Russell, Yannick Conan Niederhauser, and Keshawn Williams. Coming in from the transfer portal, they had to do quite a bit. Dominic Gooden from the JUCO ranks. He was ranked 85th from by JUCOrecruiting.com. 26 points per game for Hillsborough. 5.5 boards, 5.5 assists there. Coming in from Western Illinois is James Dent Jr., a 6'5 senior, 26.5 minutes a season ago, 10.7 points per game, 4 boards, 1.5 assists. Quentin Jones coming in from Cal Poly, shot at 40% from 3 last season in 32 minutes per game with the Mustangs, averaged 9 and 4 with 1.5 assists and 1.5 steals per game. Joe Munden Jr. coming in from Fairleigh Dickinson, 10 point scorer per game, 4.5 boards. He's a graduate senior. Quentin Jones, I already said Quentin Jones, sorry. Jordan Gorecki from Northern Oklahoma Junior College, 8.7 points per game, 7.5 boards, 3.5 blocks per game. He's a 6'10 junior center. Kalon Nichols coming in from Duquesne. Didn't play much with the Dukes. Looking to see the floor a little bit more this year. And then Savet Sotirov coming in from St. Louis after redshirting a season ago. Look, this roster is
I was waiting for you
to judge from me. Like I said, they lose all 7 of their top scorers from a season ago, and they're going to expect 4 portal grabs to start this season. So it's tough to prognosticate. I'm going to send this one over to you, Mac.
Yeah, you know me, man. I like to take the team a year after the year. I think they'll be a little bit better, but it's hard to buy in to them finishing in like the top half. Burno in his 4th year there, they
were supposed to take a step up last
year. Yeah. And you know me, man. I like to, after they burn everybody, I like to take them the next year. But man, they started 0-8 in league play to start after they won those great games in November and December.
They beat App State in that Sun Belt Challenge.
They did. You're right. I pulled up their schedule.
Remember who? It was a money line call that I had early on in the year. I was like, Northern Illinois brings back a ton, and
they just fell apart. They beat DePaul. They beat Little Rock. Little Rock won their league regular season.
Yeah, right.
Georgia State. They beat on the road. I know that wasn't the best team, but then after they got drilled by Northwestern and Indiana State back to back, the wheels just fell off. Bottom half, obviously, interested to see how this class meshes together.
Yeah, I don't think I'm buying in. Let's move on to the Ohio Bobcats. I got burned by NIU last year. I don't think I'm buying it this year. The Bobcats are going to be...
Make me like them more, baby. Everybody gets burned, and nobody wants to take them, baby. Come on, Huskies.
Yeah, the Bobcats are really interesting this year. So I didn't realize it, but when I was When I was looking at this, I think I even talked about it in one of our shows, maybe even two of them, because it was, I think, for one of the MTE shows that we were talking about, and then for the opening night games. I was like, they lose 3 of their starters from a season ago. Well, they actually returned the most minutes from a
Yeah.
MAC team this season at 65.6%. Let's dive into it, because what I was talking about, like Jalen Hunter's a big hit, 14 points per game, 4.5 boards, almost 5 assists per game, 1.5 steals. He's gone. Miles Brown, 28.5 minutes a season ago, 9.7 points per game. He's gone. Gabe Winsler is also transferred out. He was 6'11 contributor. IJ Izuma also out of eligibility. Quinn Corna transferred out, and Ike Cornish, after playing 11 minutes per game for the Bobcats last season, transferred out. They return Sharif Mitchell, who put up 13.3 points per game, 4 boards, 2.5 assists, almost 1.5 steals per game, and shot at 47% from the field. They also return AJ Brown, who averaged 9 points per game in 26.5 minutes. Aiden Hadaway, in 24.5 minutes, he put up 8.3 points, 4.7 rebounds, 51.7% shooter from the field. And then AJ Clayton, 26 minutes per game, 12 points, 4.7 boards. Also pretty efficient from the field, 49.6%. Also, Elmore James, 23 minutes a season ago. AJ Sheldon, 16 minutes. Sorry. And then the projected point guard here is a transfer from Iowa State, Jackson Pavletsky. But actually, where he did a lot of his damage was at Wofford. He was a really solid guard for the Terriers. Didn't play too much with the Cyclones, and said, okay, I'm going to skip town. We're going to go over to Athens, Ohio, where he might be the star of the show. Ohio is a team that you should be pretty high on coming into the year. Mac, how do you feel?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, and Jeff Bowles is another guy you're going to blindly want to back anyway. I mean, they finish in the top 4, top 5 every single year. Ironically, he's won an NCAA tournament game, but he has not won the regular season yet in the MAC. So he talked about that when I had him on the show. He wants to win the MAC. Check that off his tenure there. He played there, so obviously he's a proud Bobcat. But you mentioned it. They bring back the most minutes. I know that they did lose a little bit, but everybody in this league did. So Bobcats open up with JMU opening night. Can't wait for that one here in about less than 40 days. I think Ohio's right there to win the MAC outright this year.
I'm considerably more excited for the Bobcats this year, but as I talked about in the beginning of the show, I don't have them winning the conference. I just think
you're gonna deck Toledo.
I think there's just a squad that's earned it, and a program that's earned it. I just flashed their name on the ticker, but Jeff Bowles has been running one of the best programs in the MAC since COVID. Bobcats, they're going to have a really good backcourt this season, one of the best in the MAC, in my opinion. To me, it seems like Ohio is in the best spot to win the MAC that they've been in quite some time. We know they're going to be a contender. The question we should be asking is, do they get a banner? How many of them do they get? Or maybe the better question might be, which banner do they get? Do they win the conference tournament, or do they win the regular season? We'll find out. The team that I hinted at, the Toledo Rockets, the back-to-back regular season champions, the back-to-back early bounces in the conference tournament, Toledo Rockets. 20-12 overall, 14-4 in conference, first place a season ago. Look, just like everybody else, they do lose some contributors. They lose 3 starters. Dante Maddox Jr. was the biggest hit here, 15.5 points, 4.5 assists, almost 4.5 boards, almost 3 assists a season ago. Raheem Moss as well, 15.5 points, 5.5 boards, 3 assists, 1.7 steals per game. Tyler Cochran, 29.5 minutes a season ago, 14.5 points, 6.5 boards, 2 steals, 2 assists per game. Coming back were those 2 freshmen that started last season. Sonny Wilson, 28.5 minutes per game, 8 points, 2.8 boards, 2.2 assists. And then Javon Simmons, a 6'7" sophomore in the front court, 31 minutes a game, 12 points, 5 boards, 1.5 assists, shot at 54% from the field. Andre Lorenzen is going to take a step up in production, I think, this season. He's a senior, played 15.5 minutes a season ago. 6 points per game, 2.5 boards, shot at 53%, 47% from 3 when he was on the floor. This is a guy that is definitely capable of being a more proficient scorer with more time on the floor. And they grabbed 2 MAC transfers. Seth Hubbard, the leading scorer of the Western Michigan Broncos a season ago, 14 points per game, 3.5 boards, 1.5 assists, over 1 steal per game. He's a junior, played 31 minutes for the Broncos last season. And from Buffalo, 33 minutes a season ago, 12.8 points per game, 4 rebounds per game, 3.7 assists, Isaiah Adams. Look, I think this backcourt, they're once again going to be able to distribute the ball all over the place, especially to a couple of big men that I think are going to lead the team in scoring this year, and Javon Simmons and Andre Lorenzen. Sonny Wilson was a kid that grew up in my neck of the woods, and he was never really known as like a dynamic scorer, but he was an outstanding two-way player, defensive, offensive, and really good playmaker. And then you get 2 guys from the MAC that were really good scorers on their teams from a season ago. Bottom line, Kowalczyk, no matter the personnel, has been super, super consistent, winning the MAC regular season 4 times in a row now. And he did it last year by starting 2 freshmen, which is the only reason why it threw me off the scent last year. I picked them to win the conference tournament just because I thought they were going to mesh throughout the season and be better and play their best ball in March. Consider me bought all the way in again. If Kowalczyk won the league with the roster he had last year, I don't see why he couldn't do it for a 5th time in a row this year, as they return the 2nd most minutes in the MAC from last year. Mac, I'll let you return serve, as you might not be as high on the Rockets this year as I am.
I mean, I love Kowalczyk and I love Toledo. They've been so good offensively. Every year they're in the top 50. The one year they were like a top 5 national offense. I think Rob hit the nail right on the head. They're pencil them in, 20-plus wins, right there to win the league again. I will be interested to see if those freshmen last year that were really good can avoid the sophomore slump. So it's but fair. I mean, Kowalczyk has proven it with everybody. They're in my top 4, of course, easy.
Yeah, so Kowalczyk, he's had the best offense in the MAC in 4 of the last 5 seasons, and the one year that he didn't have the best, it was ranked number 2. So yeah, offensively,
he scored the ball.
Yeah, offensively, very, very stout. And Cougie Camp, I'm not denying it. They're going to probably blow it in the tournament, but it's a really, really consistent program. I'll give them the regular season win, and then you just got to pick against them in March. The Western Michigan Broncos are going to wrap up our team previews portion of this show. From a season ago, they were 12-20 overall, but 9-9 in conference, finished tied for 6th in the MAC. Like I said, they lose their leading scorer, Seth Hubbard, to Toledo, 14 points per game, 3.5 boards in 31 minutes. Also, Jefferson Monegro transfers out after playing 31 minutes a season ago, averaged 8.5, 3.5, and 3 assists. Javonte Brown played 15 minutes, averaged 8 and 4. Beardis White played 27.5 minutes, 10.5 points, 3 boards, 3 assists. He's also hit the transfer portal. Anthony Crump, who played 22 minutes, he's out of eligibility along with Titus Wright. So coming in from the portal, I don't think they do as well as what they lost to lead off what I'm going to say. Chancey Williams is like the crown jewel of it. He was a JUCO honorable mention for JUCO All-American. He averaged 20 points per game, 6 boards, 7 assists at Henry Ford in Michigan. So short little drive over to Kalamazoo for this season for him. He's a 6'2" junior point guard. Donovan Williams comes in from Pacific after averaging 9 and 4.5 boards with 1.5 assists. He's a graduate senior. Coming in from the NAIA ranks, Sir Yi Lewis, who played at Rice in Kansas State as well. He only played 19 minutes a season ago. Marquise Josephs, a sophomore from Grand Canyon, didn't really see the floor too much with the Lopes. And then Hutch Ward coming in from D2 Wayne State in the Detroit area. So, damn, like Dwayne Stevens, I believe he was one of the Izzo disciples.
Yep.
And it was a very, very solid season. Mac, I need you to talk me into this because last year we weren't too high on the Broncos either. And
I feel like they overachieved last year.
Yeah. And this year, on paper at least, it's tough for me to see it.
Yeah, they jumped up. They won 5 more MAC games from 23 to 24, jumped up from 8 to 12. It'll be interesting to see if they can take another jump here. There's a lot of question marks on this roster. I think bottom half, but I mean, Stevens, he is an Izzo guy. We haven't seen a lot of Izzo guys get jobs, to be honest.
Yeah, to be honest, they've all stayed pretty much in-house. They've been pretty well.
And I mean, so he's been one of the first ones to be kind of with the sample size.
Yeah. I think the other – so there's the Valentine is at Loyola Chicago.
Yeah.
And there's one more that just left for Detroit Mercy.
Yep. There's a lot of question marks, like you said, when you were breaking it down. And I'm in agreement with you.
All righty. So that's going to wrap up the team preview portion of this show. We're going to now jump into our preseason standings, preseason predictions part of it. And look, I say this, or I try to say this on every show. This is us kind of looking at on paper. And as Colby said yesterday with the Mountain West, it seems like this gets harder and harder each year with the transfer portal, as a lot of these mid-majors rosters are just ravished and just pillaged by the transfer portal. So MAC is very, very fun brand of basketball and also very, very parity driven. So we're going to see how this goes. Typically, like we've talked about in the show before, there's a top 4 programs, but Kent State finished 8th last year. So yeah, teams are allowed to get better throughout the year. We saw that with a couple of programs. Mac, I'm going to let you lead us off. Start off with your number 12 ranked team.
The Blue Bulls, Buffalo, again, back-to-back basement finishes for me.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Buffalo too.
In the 11 hole, I went back and forth between 2 programs. I'm going to end up going with the Broncos of Western Michigan.
Ooh. I'm going Eastern Michigan.
For my 10 spot, I went with the Chips, the other Michigan.
I'm a little bit higher on Central. You're a little bit higher on Eastern. We both pretty much feel the same-ish on Western, but I'm going to have Northern Illinois behind Western. So Northern Illinois at 10 for me.
I had Northern Illinois at 9.
I have Western Michigan at 9.
And then I had the Screaming Eagles of Eastern Michigan at 8.
I have Miami, Ohio at 8.
Ooh. At number 7, I got the Ball State guys.
The Ball State guys. The Cardinals.
Cardinals. Cardinal or Cardinals?
Cardinals.
Yeah. Mike Lewis.
Yeah, this was the tough part for me in this spot. I'm going to go with Central at 7.
Central Michigan?
Yeah.
Michigan bias again. My top 6.
I have Western at 9 and Eastern at 11. Like, none of these teams are in the top half.
FYI, my top 6 are all in the state of Ohio.
Ohio. Yeah, fuck Ohio. It's the armpit of America. But the MAC's fun.
That's why Noah had to jam in all that Michigan crap earlier, everybody. At number 6, I went Miami of Ohio.
Number 6, I got Bowling Green.
I got Bowling Green, Todd Simon at number 5. I'm trusting Todd Simon again.
Oh shit, sorry. I have Ball State 6th. Bowling Green's 5th.
Okay.
I got ahead of myself there.
So we both have Bowling Green at 5.
Yes. Ball State's 6th for me. Bowling Green's 5. You're number 4.
So we ended up with the same top 4 again.
We do. And I don't think that's an issue. I think these are the four most steady programs in the MAC.
No doubt. At number 4, I'm torn on this one. I'm gonna go with the Rockets at Toledo. I'm gonna have them take a little bit of a step back here. Toledo, number 4 for me.
I got Kent State 4th.
Okay. At number 3, I got the Zips of Akron.
I have Akron 3rd too.
Okay. Then I got my guys from Kent State at number 2.
I have Ohio 2nd.
He's got Toledo again. And I got my Bobcats winning the MACtion. Jeff Bowles wins his first MAC regular season. Let's go Bobcats. I got to get to a game in Athens.
We're going Rockets, Toledo, number 5. Back to back to back to back to back. MAC regular season
tournament?
champions. No, Ohio's going to win the tournament.
I think Kent State's going to win the tournament. I think Kent State's going to get revenge from losing that heartbreaker the way that they did last year. They've been to 3 straight finals. They won the second one. I think they get back to a 4th straight and they get it done again. Give me Kent State, the Golden Flashes, baby.
All righty. So, look, I think the so-called sleeper, by how we typically do these things, the preseason polls aren't out yet. We don't have KenPom rankings yet. Kent State finished 8th. We both have them in the top 4. Technically, we allow that for sleeper. I don't think that's fair for the MAC.
No, they're in the top 4 better than last year, yeah.
Yeah, so for my sleeper, I have to go Ball State. They finished 9th in conference last year. I have them taking a jump up to 5th.
I have Miami of Ohio. I know they finished 6th, but I think Miami of Ohio is going to be better than last year. I like the top 5 a lot. Eastern Michigan. I guess that would be the biggest sleeperish pick.
Eastern.
Bowling Green at 5 isn't a sleeper?
No, they finished 5th last year.
Is Eastern Michigan at 8 a sleeper?
They finished 10th last year. They're taking a step up by 2.
Yeah, Eastern Michigan. Let's go. Talked all that shit on Eastern Michigan. They're my sleeper.
They're going to finish 11th. They're only going to be better than Buffalo.
You're a hater.
Bust.
Toledo finishing 4th to bust.
Yeah, for sure. If you want to go there, I'm going to take I don't know what the saying is, but it's right there in front of me. I'm going to take the apple right off the tree in Western Michigan. I have them finishing 9th. They were tied for 6th last year, so I think that's my bust.
Oh, I guess mine would be the 2 Michigans, Central Michigan and Western Michigan, 10 and 11 for me. Yeah.
Yeah, Central finished 4th.
Yeah, I don't consider Toledo finishing 4th really a bust because they could be one game out of first place, or they could be in a 4-way.
The only reason why I would consider it and give it to you is just because I feel good about them once again this year, and they've won the league 4 straight years. If they don't win it, it's kind of a surprise, and if they finish 4th, then I'm surprised. So,
do it.
All righty, that's going to wrap up the MAC preview today. Mac, anything else that you want to say before we head out of here?
Nope. Love this league. Can't wait for MACtion versus the Fun Belt November 4th, less than 40 days away. Go check out all our coaches previews. We got a bunch of Sun Belt and MAC coaches on, and we'll be doing the Sun Belt here probably next week or the following week. I just counted. We're 10.
I was
in.
just about to give off our schedule for next week. So next week we've got the Summit League, the Big Sky, the America East, and then we're getting the Dant brothers for the ACC. The ACC is going to be mixed in here probably Wednesday. Look out for that Wednesday night ACC conference preview from us. You can find all of these conference previews in a playlist over on YouTube. You can binge them all. We've done, I think, 9 or 10 now.
This is 10. I just counted.
Okay, so we've done 10 now. I was in the right vicinity. You can binge all of those. We have them playlisted on YouTube along with Mac's Summer School Coaches Tour videos. Those are in a playlist along with the TC trims that we've been doing this offseason, preseason. The college baseball experience, college football experience, the Big 12 college experience. Am I forgetting any more? The FCS college experience. They're all in a playlist as well for you. And there's more from SGPN for there's something for everybody. MMA, NHL, NBA. And if you're looking for NFL content, the Sports Gambling Podcast takes care of that. They also dip their feet into the biggest events of each and every sports week. So this has been the College Basketball Experience. You all have been great in the live chat today. It is almost 1 a.m. Eastern, almost getting back into that rhythm from the regular season. So this has been the College Basketball Experience. God, I screwed up this outro twice.
You better start thinking about yours. And we are out of here. Peace out.